I don't know about you, but in my state of Oregon, we often hear about how rental occupancies are at an all-time high and availability is a struggle for a lot of renters. So why is it that some properties might be left unoccupied and it taking a long time to find a new tenant if there's all this news out there that there's renters out there looking for housing and they're not able to find it? Well, what I want to chat about is some reasons why your property might not be finding a new tenant and why you've been having challenges to sign that new lease and get it occupied. My name is Casey Miller. I work for Rentec Direct property management software. I'm also a landlord and a real estate investor. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the reasons why a rental property might not be getting rented and why you might be dealing with occupancy longer and vacancy longer than you were expecting. So there's a couple things that come to my mind. Obviously, the property needs to be at the right price. If you're pricing a property too high to sustain the market, it's going to be very, very challenging to find a renter. Now, it might be a little bit different if you have a super luxury property where there's multiple bedrooms, lots of land. In my area, maybe a house on the river in the country area to board horses might have a lot higher rental price than a small single family property that's closer to town, closer to the city center. In other areas, it might be the opposite. Inside the town, like the cute apartments that are really luxury right by downtown might be renting for way more than like that property out in the country. It really depends on your market, but understanding what that market rent rate is can really help you price your property accordingly and find the new tenants. In another video, I'll share a story with you about how we built some high-end housing in downtown in Oregon, and we actually struggled with finding tenants because the pricing that we were hoping to get for it just didn't meet that market demand. So it's always really important to not understand what that market rate is, but get a really good picture about what renters are like in your area. That's why experience in the landlord, having lots of conversations with people who are landlords and property managers in your area can help you get a good idea of what to expect for rental housing in your community. Another reason why your property might not be renting as quickly as you're hoping is that exterior. What is the curb appeal like? What is the neighborhood like? Is it someplace that is attracting the right type of tenants and qualified tenants that you want in your property? So, it's summertime right now. We're all concerned about the lawns and watering things. Right now, lawns die so quickly, they get all scraggly and dirty, and that can really affect curb appeal. Maybe throughout the year, if you have a tenant who's in charge of watering the lawn, it's not as a big deal for when the property is occupied. But when you're really looking to rent that property, the exterior can make a difference. And having a tenant think about the upkeep too when they're coming to a property and they say like, oh, there's all this like dead grass or grass that doesn't look good. Am I going to want to even maintain that or get it back up to par? You also want to think about that neighborhood. So it's not just your property, but what about the neighboring properties around it? Are there properties that you could help talk to them and say like, hey, can we work on fixing a fence together? Can we, I'm concerned about maybe the stuff going on in your yard or cars that are broken down next to the property. That can have an impact on how well your property is going to get rented as well. We also want to think about how accessible the information about the property is for any interested tenants to find. Did you put a rental listing out there? Is your phone number on there? Is it just a rental listing? But where can someone go to find more information about you, the property manager or landlord, and the property itself? Just a phone number, people might be intimidated to call, but if you have a website that they could go to, yes, even a website for a single property, that can build a lot of confidence in a tenant to take that next step to apply with you. So we think about web presence and how easy it is to find information. Are you just using a for rent sign and your phone number's on there, or can someone get more information on their own before reaching out to you and applying to you and using like an online application? Because as we know through digital trends, people really like the convenience of being able to self-serve their needs, especially when it comes to finding more information and filling out applications without having to actually make a phone call or meet in person to get more information about a property in rental housing. And when we're talking about web presence, we also want to think about that reputation management. So reputation management is any reviews or social media presence or responses that are out there or impressions that someone might have about you in the community as a landlord or a property manager. So unfortunately, people can be more likely to leave a review when they're dissatisfied. In my mind, when it comes to rental housing, so managing your landlord-tenant relationships always is important. But then if you get someone who has given you a poor review somewhere, like what is your response going to be? Best practices, you always follow up with a response. If it's on a review website, try to reach out to that tenant, try to make things right if you can, and then ask them to maybe change that response that's out there. And that's part of reputation management. It always starts with having a good landlord-tenant relationship to start, and good relationships with your vendors and in the community, and then maintaining how you are spoken about online, because that's where a lot of people are going to get information. They're going to check review websites, they're going to go to your Facebook page, see how people are interacting with you, and that can impact whether or not they want to make a step to move forward or get more information about a property. And as much as we can talk about the exterior and all that before the initial connection happens about why a property might not be occupied or renting as fast as you want it to be, we also got to focus on that interior. Is someone going to want to live in your property once they see the inside, especially when it comes to thinking about how much something is going to cost? So are there any upgrades? Is there cleaning that you need to do? Anything that you can do, even minimally, to kind of spruce up the property and make it look a little bit more attractive, so someone is going to be more excited about renting the property for you. And I have one more to think about if you're really struggling with having someone live at your property or fill that vacancy, is to consider your pet policy. So personally, as a landlord, it's really challenging to allow pets at our properties. We've had a lot of issues with dangerous pets, pets that have caused property damage. But the reality is a lot of renters have pets. I'll drop a note down in the comments to look at that exact stat about how many renters have pets, but it's more than half. So if you're really struggling with finding a tenant for your property, you might want to consider your pet policy. And if you're going to allow pets at your property, there are ways to generate additional income off of a pet. You could charge pet rent, you can collect an additional security deposit, maybe a pet fee, and that can help cover the cost of any potential damage. And then of course, make sure that your renters have the right insurance, you have the right insurance, just in case there was any sort of dangerous pet behavior that could negatively impact the living experience for you or your tenants or the neighbors. So those are some ideas about what might be going on and why a property might not be, the vacancy might not be ending as quickly as you want it to. In rental housing, we always want to go from lease to lease to lease with as minimal tenant turnover as possible, but sometimes the market might be making it so your property is not getting as rented as quickly as you are hoping it can. And occupancy equals revenue. So we always focus on how to increase our occupancy rates as housing providers. My name is Casey Miller. I work for Rentec Direct Property Management Software. You can always find this and other advice on the Rentec Direct blog and on our YouTube channel. Come and follow us there, and stay tuned for more follow-up videos on what exactly to do when you're encountering these issues that we mentioned in these videos, and ideas and solutions to solve these problems so you can minimize your vacancy and increase your occupancy.